purpose of this roundtable is we've got a lot of exciting VR projects right now. You've seen Arena project, you've probably seen our demo, Unreal Engine demo, but there's still one big question. Technology is exciting, nobody understands, well at least I don't understand, I hope those smart people will inform me, where the hell is the money in virtual reality and what should we do right now to not go bankrupt if we actually decide to go VR. So Oleg will introduce our guests.
Yes, so please welcome our dear guests today. It's two Andy. The first is Andy Touch from Unity.
Привет.
Oh, it's in Russian. The second one is Andy Hess from Epic Games, representing Unreal Engine 4. And Anton Udintsev from Gaijin. Alexander Lukichev from Arena. And Yaroslav Sivokhin from Fibrum. And the pretty one, it's Alisa.
So we got really good company here. We have two technologies, we have two developers, and we have companies that develops actual hardware. So maybe let's start by introducing our guests, letting our guests introduce themselves and discuss what they have to do with VR actually and what they've been doing in VR recently. Let's just start with you.
Hi, so my name is Andy Hess. I work for Epic Games. We make a game engine that we think is very well suited for VR. In our belief, what matters most in VR is visual fidelity for immersion to allow people to escape from the real world and also performance so people don't get sick. That's something that Epic has focused on for 20 years.
Hello, my name is Anton. I'm from Gaijin Entertainment. Gaijin Entertainment is a developer of few simulation games, including War Thunder, and we have been working on VR since the very beginning of VR era, even before that actually. And we feel that VR is very important next step for hardcore industry, including any simulation games especially.
Hello everyone, my name is Yaros. I'm from Fibrum company. We are the leading software mobile VR development company. And now we are on the final stage of releasing our own platform, which consists of three major services. The first one is a network for users to connect them and involve in more experience in virtual reality. The next one is advertising network in virtual reality. We'd like to promote any applications which we've developed and published from third-party developers. And the second service is about analytics. We'd like to understand the behavior of users inside virtual reality games and understand what they need and what we could offer to them. Thank you.
Привет, Devgam. Меня зовут Andy.
Yeah! This guy's is help for Russian.
I stayed up till 3 a.m. practicing that. So my name's Andy. I work at Unity Technologies. We make Unity amongst various other things, and we have been doing VR stuff for a number of years. Everything from Google Cardboard, supporting really, really low-end devices, to even like a HoloLens, which basically no one has yet. So yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexander. I'm from Arena team. We make integration platform to communicate everything, hardware system in VR and every game engine using VR, such as Unreal Engine, Unity. We make VR full immersion. Thank you.
Okay, now that we understand who's the guests are and what they're doing, I have one question to start. I'm afraid it's going to be the last question because we might discuss it for a long time. How do you see the VR market in 5 years? Who's going to be playing? What kind of devices they're going to be using? If they're going to be playing at all, maybe it's it's going to be all B2B solutions. And what kind of games? What kind of devices? Who are those people? And how big the market supposedly will be?
I think that's a really difficult question to ask, because if you
that's
ask,
why I started with it.
yeah, of course. If you said, where will the VR market be in 6 months' time, that would still be a difficult question to answer, because...
Yeah, I can actually answer this question. So we know the data for VR devices sales, right? So we know that users have gotten their hands on around 70,000 PC helmets. It includes both Oculus and HTC, but that's, and judging on those devices shipments and production capacity and user demand, we don't expect it to go, well, at least I don't expect it to go way over, 300,000, which is, that's an easy question to answer, but that's why I'm asking you as an expert, what's going to be in 5 years?
Yes, so I think currently at the point, VR platforms are quite fractured, and I think over the next, especially 6 months to a year, when more things are released and more people actually receive the headsets they've bought, no names, and stuff like that, eventually it'll go to less of, you need big, super powerful computer running this, to, oh, hey, I've got this in my rucksack and pull it out. Like I have a Gear VR in my rucksack that I can pull out and give to anyone here, and they can experience that. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, people would be like, whoa, that's crazy. And I think in 5 years' time, eventually everything will get that quick to pull out and give to someone, which would be excellent, because then I could go to my granddad and give him a VR headset. He doesn't have to set up Vive lighthouses and all that stuff.
So you expect it to be some kind of like iPad, which, was quite a discovery 5 years ago, but now, everybody has a tablet.
You should do, yes. Hopefully it would, yes, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else has an opinion on this?
It's interesting to hear what you're thinking, Alexander, because you're very not usual VR for all us, just PC VR developers. Your company is very unusual for us.
You see, of course, we understand that the growing of the market of real headsets such as HTC Vive, Oculus, is very closely now. It's very small. I think first step, of course, it will be in mobile VR. Such companies as Fibrum, Galaxy, Gear VR, and so on. Mobile application, it's very easy to build, to communicate with them. Costs, of course, headset costs only up to $100, but HTC eight times more. But I think every technical solution on the market will grow, will fall down the prices for headsets, I think, and the market will be full.
Okay, and Anton, Kirill?
I think that, of course, VR is the next big thing. It is the next platform. And I think that all of the key players in this technology share my opinion. And we have a Vision Summit later, probably 2 or 1 month ago, which was hosted by Unity. And I think that this conference was the start point to develop the VR and to make from this technology some kind of product, to bring a meaning to this technology. If we look at VR as a technology, I think that this is mostly based on your watch experience. It is the way you look and perceive the information, you interact with this information. And I think that if we look at this technology and trying to understand which of the market will be disrupted by this technology, I think that this is all about television.
So you expect that VR technology is not going to damage PC games, for example, market, but it's going to eat into TV market. Am I right?
Yeah, we have a very interesting thing for this very moment, because we have a technology, and this technology is starting development from PC and mobile platform, both together. And I think that this technology on these different platforms will have a different form. If we speak about PC, I think, of course, it is mostly based on game experience. But I represent a Fibrum company, and we are mostly keen on mobile virtual reality, and I look at the perspective of vision of my company, and I think that in mobile virtual reality, it is about television. Not the form of television of which we can see for this very moment. Of course, it will be changed and take some different forms. Actually, I don't know which ones, but I think that I have reviewed some reports from companies about smartphone development in the APAC region, and I have seen and noticed one very key, one interesting point, that up to the 28 APAC region have a big penetration of smartphones. And this is because of the fact that some years ago this region has very poor countries, and these countries just jump over the computer industry, and now this country is diving into smartphone industry. And what is more important, all of the services, I mean social services in these countries, are trying to transfer on the smartphone, like finance or health caring and so on. And I think that all of mobile companies and all of mobile platforms have a great opportunities to take a TV industry in these countries through the VR technology.
Okay, it's an interesting point. So maybe we will move to the content. Anton?
Hello. So, about the market. Of course, it's hard to predict the future, but we will have 9 major VR headsets in this year, by the end of this year. So right now we have HTC Vive and Oculus, obviously, but there are 7 more to come, as far as I know. Maybe there are more to come, but as far as I know, there's 7 of them. Yeah, and Google Cardboard, of course. So, and that's a lot of momentum. I mean, even if VR, I'm not saying that, but even if VR is not that good, there are a lot of companies put a lot of efforts in creating hardware, in creating marketing for hardware, in creating content for hardware to arrive. So there's a lot of momentum coming with the current generation of VR headsets. And regardless of the quality of the VR experience they provide or the quality of VR hardware they have, regardless of that, it's still gonna be pretty big. As far as I know, the most obvious cap for current penetration of VR headsets is the ability to produce them. So Oculus cannot produce enough. HTC Vive cannot produce enough headsets. So probably PlayStation VR will be better in that because they're generally better in producing consumers' hardware. I mean, logistics and everything. So by the end of this year, we will have enough devices, and next year will be the significant growth of them. And so content will come with the devices. Some of the users will, it's the first generation of VR headsets, so it could be just barely above the threshold of being acceptable for motion sickness and everything, and the resolution and everything. So, but even this first generation will find its audience. There will be millions, by the end of the next year, there will be millions of people who have VR headsets and use it from time to time. Depends on the quality of the content and the quality of devices and the quality of hardware they have. It will be different amount of times, but some of them will use them like significant amount of time. So answering about the size of the market, it's gonna be pretty significant. I mean, it's gonna be, if you make exclusive game for Xbox One, you can make exclusive games for VR headsets. So
you're talking about significant, I just wanted to clarify a little bit. So you're talking about a market that's going to be similar to size of Xbox One platform, you know, for content.
It's hard to predict, especially to predict the future, but obviously each one of the major manufacturers are going to sell millions of units in the next 2 years, and they're going to do that according to the current demand on the market. So if you multiply by 5, you already get 10 million, right? So by the next 2 years, going to be 10 million devices or more than that. So, well, of course, it may be a little bit optimistic, but it can be conservative as well. I mean, it's hard to predict the future. So there will be enough devices, and there will be enough people trying them from time to time. So depending on the quality of the content and those people, you can create the game exclusively for VR headset, which means that it's big enough market. If you can make exclusive content, it's big enough. And if the quality of the content would be good enough, then the market will continue to grow, because if you have content, you create demand on the hardware. If you have hardware, you create demand on the content, and it's going to boost.
Yeah. I want to dig a little bit into that. I really agree with you. I like this point. The main problem with 3D technology, 3D TV technology, was that people didn't have enough content. They bought in on 3D TV technology. Everyone here probably has 3D TV in the room because they couldn't buy another one. There was only 3D TVs available, but nobody uses it because there is no content to watch. There is no content to watch because producing this content is extremely expensive, especially on a high quality level. While in VR industry, content seems to be quite inexpensive. I mean, compared to
it depends
movies.
on the content. But yeah, obviously it's a chicken and egg problem. But in this specific case, in the VR case, this is going to be already solved. I mean, there will be both chickens and eggs and everything. So there will be content. There will be expensive content, kind of like a War Thunder. It's a pretty high production value game, but it's very suitable for VR because it's a vehicle simulation game. Basically, every vehicle simulation game is somehow suitable for VR if you make support for it. So, but there will be special content for VR, there will be exclusive content VR. So there will be growing VR market. It's already here, it's coming, and it's going to be growing. How big is the cap for this market? That's another question, and it's actually more important than that, because what we're talking about 2 years, that's fine, but let's talk about 5 years later, I guess. But that's the more important question, because current generation of VR is still somehow limited. It's still more of a geek audience than, in my opinion, of course. I think I answered.
So,
I just have a perspective on it. I come from the PC hardware industry and the mobile industry. Working for companies like NVIDIA when the game industry transitioned to 3D. A lot of similarities between this and that. It's very difficult to do VR. It was difficult to do 3D then. You had a lot of different pieces in the ecosystem that had to fall in place before the content could really deliver on expectations on the part of the consumer. And I think that's where we are right now with VR. It's not going to be an explosive, in my opinion, it's not going to be an explosive breakout like mobile content was, because mobile content, particularly as defined or as enabled by devices like iPhone. Remember, iPhone was sort of unique in its time when it first launched. It was a complete solution. It was one thing that you could buy, and there was an app store, and everything just worked. Right now, it's hard to do VR. And even the content creators don't have a lot of VR headsets. Everybody in this room is a content creator of some sort. How many people here actually own a VR headset? Yeah, very few, very few. And so people that are predicting this explosion of content in 6 months or next year or whatnot, and they don't even own a VR headset right now, I think maybe the excitement and the expectations are getting a little far in advance of sort of the realities of putting all these pieces together. Certainly it'll get there, and I think in 5 years you'll start to see things stabilize and become mature, but there's still so many moving pieces that have to settle, so many technologies that have to be refined, so much equipment that needs to get out into the consumer's hands in mass. The console providers, Sony, I think will lead the way because they can provide an integrated solution. They will be the iPhone of VR because they can provide an integrated solution, but it'll be a fragment of their install base for the next couple of years. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and I don't mean to discourage anybody. It's just to be realistic about expectations and planning, and take advantage of that fact. Don't race to get to market with a product that is going to turn people off or make people sick. Do your R&D, figure out what works. Solve those hard design problems that we don't even really understand exist yet. I mean, people just they're only beginning to understand the challenges of designing in VR. Hopefully in 5 years, yeah, it's really going to take off. But I think the next couple of years, it's the industry should still just focus on making it right before they make it big.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I add something? Okay. So maybe I will sound a little bit too optimistic, but there are rumors here everywhere that there's no money in VR at all. So of course I agree that it's not going to be as huge as console market in next 2 years. But I think there's still be market. I mean, you can still make.
Oh yeah, the enthusiast market, of course.
Geek kind of market.
By the way, I'm Alice, and I'm just an interested person here. And to continue the discussion, I have a question. I remember how it all started, like 15 years ago. It was just a box when you couldn't rule the game, you couldn't play, but you just watched. It was the box with virtual reality and so on. Now, actually, with all the even developing kits, people usually use it on fairy markets for fun, for consuming crowd. They stay in queue, they pay money just to see VR, just as it was with the other, all those boxes with VR, VR arcades and so on. And do you think that it will be still used, especially, by the way, in CIS, on fairy markets, on some festivals, people just use it as a just something else of fairy wheel, or just all the games there are just arcades of the same genre. Do you plan that this somehow will change? And do you think that it always will be like a part of all this fun for a crowd? Just, do you understand me?
So
Yeah.
as I understand, the main question is about the type of the content.
Not only the type of the content, but how people understand it, the perception of VR. They just think that it's another, I don't know, how is it?
So do you mean like it would go from less of an event and more to just a common practice?
Yeah,
like,
Alice is asking about if people's perception is going to change, because right now she feels like people perceive VR as 5 minutes, something to kill 5 minutes while you're waiting for your movie to start, like kind of arcade experience, which is not bad at all, obviously, but
When we had VR at home, it was different because actually all the people we are friends with, they are all developers. So it's interesting for them to try quests, to try some different from arcades and projects. But as you see on all the events when people use VR just as a time killer, just as another time to spend, I don't know.
So
just as it was like 7D theater, but where you can play.
Yeah, so I think over time it's going to become more common as more people are exposed to it. Like currently, if I go to people who are game developers and show VR, they're like the Vive, and they're like, yeah, it's pretty cool, it's all right. Because they've already tried every VR headset and they've been around it. Whereas you go to someone who isn't in that industry, they're like, whoa, this is the coolest thing ever. Like we went to Slush, which is like a venture capital event in Helsinki, and majority of people there had never ever tried VR, didn't even try the DK1. And we had a Vive set up, and everyone was in there like, I want to stay in here for 4 hours, I want to stay in here for 5 hours, because they were blown away that this was a possible thing, because they weren't put off by kind of the first DK1 and the sickness, and the content is much better now than it was back then. So I think over time, as more people experience it, it'll become less of kind of a big spectacle event and more of a kind of assumed thing, which is good, which is a good thing, I think, because then people get more comfortable with it, they get less sick by it, and it becomes more of like a household thing.
I heard by the way, the phrase that VR and VR games are just like Disneyland for poor. I mean that you don't need to go somewhere to get the real atmospheric, I don't know how, wheels, for example, but you use them in VR. So, and you experience all this on the screen. So Do you think that there will be any future for nice games, for something interesting, and for people to buy this and to want to play this?
May I? Yeah. So right now we are in the very, very beginning. Although it's been 3 years of VR in development and everything, we are in the very beginning. The current VR hardware is barely above the threshold of acceptable. The resolution quality, the latency, the persistence of pixels, the hardware performance, this one, the GPUs and CPUs, barely acceptable. You need to have 120 frames per second. You need to have 4K resolution, better 8K resolution to have that, but to have real immersion. But and I'm talking about hardware only, but also things like how heavy is the headset, and it's actually important because your neck is going to be tired soon. So, but right now we're in the very beginning of somehow acceptable for some people. Some of them are not accepting that, but some do. So, what we need, like an industry, for VR to change the things a lot is to have enough of this critical mass of customers. And content, obviously, because it's related to each other. So in that case, there will be second generation of VR headset, not current generation, but second generation. And this second generation, that's maybe third generation, whatever, I don't know, there will be some. Sooner or later, there will be generation, which can actually replace, let's say, the console. Because currently, console is also expensive experience. The console itself is very cheap, but you also need TV, and you also need living room. And most of the gamers, like more than 50% of them, play their games alone, although in the living room, but alone. So that means that if you, in your VR headset, you can achieve the same experience, the same quality of the game in your virtual living room with a real virtual, virtual TV with the same resolution, and you'll have gamepad on you. That means you can at least save money for the TV, right? So, and this is hypothetical. This experiment, hypothetical example. But in case VR hardware and VR everything will achieve that level, that means that we have at least the audience of the current consoles. Like all the people, more like 50% of the people having the consoles can play their console games, the same games, exactly the same games, but in the virtual living room, means saving space, or allowing your wife or kids to see cartoons or whatever, and you still will have place and time to play your own game. This is, again, hypothetical, but that proves that VR market is not limited by the current perception. As soon as we'll get to much more advanced technology and enough people there, enough customers, you can create things like situation rooms with a lot of monitors, with the different charts and everything, and virtual rooms. Not real one. Like right now, there's a, let's say, high frequency trading. Have you seen any of the traders on the market? They have a lot of monitors, and they always check them, and there's some kind of charts there and some other bullshit. I don't know what it is, but it's basically pretty expensive hardware they have, and it's not very acceptable because you can only have it in one place. You cannot move these monitors with you. So VR can replace even that if the quality is good enough. So it can replace a lot of things we have now, and the perception will change as soon as we will have the market. So if there's a big market, and there will be content for that market, and there will be customers, then there will be second generation of VR, then there will be third generation, and sooner or later we will achieve when you can use your living room experience, your office experience, working in the office with your virtual colleagues, in all in the VR.
Okay, if we come down after, that's interesting idea, but let's get down back to idea where the money is. So I do understand that 5 minutes experience might not be deep enough for some people, but mobile games are 5 minutes experience. A lot of money is out there. So even if VR is still 5 minute experience, it might make a lot of money. What would you advise for a team to focus on at this moment if they want to release a game, the product, not just a game, in 5 years? So you just mentioned this idea like a lot of monitors or virtual presence or virtual office, a bunch of other applications, obviously. Do you feel like this might be a bigger market than entertainment content for VR?
Yes, it will. There will be a lot of creativity, application, and everything. But also, I don't think that, well, generally when you're asking such questions, you mean what will be the good idea for developers to start?
Obviously, a good idea is like, it's impossible because every developer is unique, everybody has its own strengths, but I mean, just like, do you feel like this valid strategy to follow?
There's not much market for such applications in terms of quantity of such application. Like how many browsers do you need on your computer? One is actually okay, but let's say if it's free market for Chrome and what else? And Firefox, and maybe that's it. So I cannot advise people to start working on such applications because most of them will not be useful. They will not be able to compete with others. So although there will be market for that, but if you find your own niche, I cannot advise on such niches because there are plenty of them. But if you find your own niche in 5 years perspective, that even in maybe 2 years perspective, there will be kind of market there, of course. But I cannot advise any of such because most of people will fail. Most of people will fail generally anyway, but in this specific case also they will fail.
Okay, let's get back to games then. So traditionally games, Fibrum mentioned that TV might be, industry to suffer because of VR, because people will use VR to watch their content. So traditionally, games have been experience-driven entertainment, where story or actors are not so important. They're still important, obviously, but not as much as a whole experience. While TV and movies have been celebrity and narrative-driven, where a good story, good actors, big names, gonna save, overall kind of, you just watch moving people on screen. What do you expect from VR in this matter? Do you think we're gonna move closer to TV in big actors, big names in VR, like in all sci-fi books, or we're gonna be focused on unusual experiences in VR, or just exciting experiences in VR?
Sergey, let me say about it. I think this kind of problem close in new way of entertainment and new way of languages, not only on TV languages. I think it will be mixed theaters where actors, some of them are in VR, in their area, in their world, and other actors are animators. They make their VR world more native, more touchable, and I think this kind of language will be the next big thing. As about new movies, I think if you can live in a movie, if you can see movie from eyes of first person, from eyes of second person, from spectator mode, you can live only in one movie, but several roles. It depends at each other. So I think this next big thing in entertainment and using, of course, VR and next immersion ability.
So when you say in a movie in first person of the character, for example, if I watch Iron Man, everyone wants to be Iron Man in his position, but in the movie, various things are happening. Iron Man's flying, kicking ass, doing all these things. So would you mean, then it basically becomes a game because you're Iron Man doing all these things, but do you mean second person like you're viewing from like a pedestrian or other view, kind of like how football matches you can view from different angles already? Is that what you mean?
You see, if we look a little bit in the past, on old DVD movies, we have several additional options as change angle of view, change scene position. It's additional materials. I think if we now video from Big Man Beta, from hardcore, from first person first-person movie. Bekmambetov tries to show us the movie from the eyes, but we have several problems. We have picture not from eyes. We have picture on screen. It depends on eyes. So we have negative feelings. But I think in VR mode, we have no problems to show it from eyes native. I can look around, I can change my position, it's native for me.
May I interrupt here? I guess hardcore could be the worst example of VR experience, actually, not the best one. Although it's been shot like a movie from the eyes, even now on the screen people have motion sickness while seeing this movie, because the reason is because you're not moving. It's not your body moving, it's the actor moving, and because your body is still or moving otherwise, you get these contradiction feelings, and that gets you motion sickness, and especially it will be motion sickness if you put your VR headset. One of the best examples here in the market right now will be VR porn.
Yeah.
The people,
like to say.
well, porn.
This is the
porn
only
the
reason
most,
to applaud
interesting
for you,
subject,
yes,
right,
yes.
for the audience. But right now, this I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that, but according to applause, some of them you do.
Yeah.
But so right now, there are a couple of companies who shot VR porn. Because it's obviously the most natural thing. It's very cheap in production. It's unlike hardcore movie. It's very cheap in production. It's kind of thing people would like to perceive themselves. So yeah, it makes sense to make VR porn. But they make as far there are two companies I know about, maybe more than, but most of them are focused on Google Cardboard actually, because there's no 6DOF, there's no positional tracking, but it's okay if you shoot the movie with a male actor not moving, right? So you can look around, but you cannot move. So if your actor is also not moving, you're okay with that. You're still not.
But it doesn't make for exciting movie, except it's not porn, you know. I do understand what you're saying. It's absolutely correct. But it's hard to shoot a movie from a position of a person that lies on his back or sits in a chair.
They do that.
Yeah, I mean, for porn it's fine, but I mean, any other kind of movie.
Yeah, but that exactly gives us the challenges, right? Because it's okay for porn not to move, but also you can, but hardcore movie like Timur Bekmambetov, it's kind of strange movie. It can more like theatrical ones when you're actually sitting in the row, in the first row maybe, but still in the row and looking on the theater on the screen, not a real movie. Although there's companies who shooting porn also with a dimensional tracking, with a positional tracking, but in that case you are kind of spectator mode. You are not.
Yeah.
You can move everywhere you want.
You can just look everywhere you like. In porn, you just can. Okay, I have a nice ceiling and everything, but you can't do anything. You can't move. It's actually the same. Just as Sergey was
There's a
talking.
difference between porn and actual sex.
I may
you
be
know?
more
You
educated.
can't do anything.
I may be.
You can't do anything when you are just lying, and the girl does everything.
Again, that's kind of one of the
Yeah.
examples. But
We got an expert.
there's actually
Guys,
We are crossing the critical line, guys. Let's stop.
they kind of there's another example. They shoot a 3D porn movie, all real actors, but they look realistically, and you can be spectator mode. You can actually move anywhere. Of course, you cannot touch anything, but or do anything else, but you can look around and you can move, and that's. But again, it's a kind of specific experience. It's not a real movie experience. It's not a story-based experience.
So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
It's you still think that it's going to be experience-based.
Every VR discussion looks like this: 10 minutes, then the VR porn, and all part
Yes,
about porn.
suddenly it all makes sense when you talk about porn. So we kind of short of time. So one really quite important question actually is business model and business challenges. So let's just be short, and I want to hear everyone's answer here. First one is two questions. So the first one is, how do you expect business models to change? We have free-to-play, we have pay-to-play. Do you expect to see rent or arcade kind of payments? And the second one is, what kind of biggest challenges any company in VR is going to experience right now, business-wise? and how would you tackle those? But I mean, just leave the challenges. We can think about it later. So business model, business challenges.
Well, I'll take a stab at that. I think one of the business models will be as varied as the business models you see today in mobile and AAA gaming. Everything from, high value upfront cost, your $60 AAA experience to, small vignette experiences that are free with, in-app purchases and things like that. It'll be all over the map. The biggest challenge, though, I think, is going to be to build engaging content that meets the expectations of the consumer. We get very excited about new technology. We collectively as game developers are always interested in new technology. It's always great. The great new thing, it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of this industry. But there's this whole thing called the mass market, and their expectations of VR are being set by Hollywood right now, which we all understand. It's a little ways off before we get to that kind of thing, and there are actually some challenges that I'm not sure will completely be overcome. Hollywood likes to make VR seem like this Matrix-like action adventure kind of thing, and the best hardware that we have today with, humbly, the best software we have today still can't deliver that Hollywood experience in terms of visual fidelity and performance, and importantly, without making people sick. So, the challenges are going to be on the design side, I think, as well as the technology side. And then business plans, I think, are going to have to accommodate the cost of designing experiences that are going to meet people's expectations. But I agree with, I'm sorry, what's your name again? Anton. I agree with that, Anton. Porn will explode first. It always, that's the nature of technology. Porn made the CD-ROM, porn made the internet. It will make VR. And that's good for us because it gets lots of hardware out there. It funds further R&D, and then we can go and create something maybe more artful. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that rat hole.
Okay, so I completely agree. The main challenge will be design challenge, actually. And as for business models, let's start with the first question. Business models are going to be pay to own. Mostly, they will be all of them, obviously, as always do, but most of them will be pay to own and free-to-play kind of models, which are because
so pay to own and pay to own and
pay to own and free-to-play with free-to-play when you own for free, but you pay. But the thing is that VR experience is all about experience. And traditionally, experience-based, experience-driven industry tends to pay for pay-to-own experience or free-to-play, where you experience is free, but kind of some of next things are going to be paid, purchased. So the content-driven, like Hollywood content-driven, can be rented or anything because you only need for a while. So there's a big market there, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be the case for VR. At least most of the money won't be there. As for technology challenges, it's kind of complicated because people in general can believe in very simple worlds. Minecraft is a good example of that. We can live in a Minecraft world. We can associate us with this blocky character. So we can feel empathy for such characters. So the world, the game world, can be very, very simple, very technology-wise also very simple. What we cannot forgive, and people will believe in it, will trust it's real. They do now, so they will do it in VR as well. Minecraft VR is fine. What people cannot forgive is inaccuracies. When you try to recreate for real world Hollywood style, then yes, small details, uncanny valley animations, physics, when it's pretending to be the real world, kind of real, I mean, but it's somehow not, it can put the whole experience in uncanny valley, and it can become frightful, motion sickness and everything like that. So it depends on and because of that, it's a design challenge. If you choose realistic design, kind of Call of Duty, Battlefield, Gears of War, obviously, and then then you'll have this technology challenge and hardware technology challenge. If you choose more simple design, there's no much of the technology challenge, but there's design challenge. You need people to believe in your world and to live there. So it's mostly about design challenge and amount of production value you can afford.
Thank you. Anyone else has an opinion on this?
No, as for models, I think, of course, common models for gaming industry will be comfortable. Of course, I think rent model will be in case. Every discussion panel of VR, where porn, when, and so on, and where is immersion in porn? Well, of course, ask Japanese. They have additional controllers for immersion. As we, I believe,
they do.
And our company, we believe in, of course, in full immersion. A new way of markets, new way of content, and new way to sell content according full immersion VR. We believe that every big company in hardware, such as Oculus, HTC, will make wireless helmets. We don't want cords. We want wireless, we want high-end channels to transmit content. And I think full immersion and wireless is the future of next step of VR.
Okay, thanks very much for coming. We are out of time. We don't have any time for questions. I'm sorry. Thanks, our guests.
Guys, if you want to ask questions, ask guys in the somewhere in the halls. Just
Да, всех можно поймать в зале и спросить вопрос потом.
Все можете поймать в
You can actually catch everyone in the rooms and in the lobbies.
Be fun.
The floor. A girl, please. Someone who wants a hello. So, here's I do a small randomize. And now, shall I do it again? Yes, you can rotate it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. Done. Now you can draw. So there are business cards of everyone there. So everybody sees, everything's honest. If the person in the room, he'll get an Apple Watch. Okay, so I'm sorry. So who is that? Collective own care game loft basically catch it. So this guy, is he here? No, perhaps not. Once again. Let's do this once again. Okay, a phone. Good. I have a Samsung. This guy will have an Apple Watch. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Hey. So who's going to be there? Yevgeny Utkin, Business Development and Manager at War Games. Is he here in this room? 1, 2, 3, yay, who? This guy is going to have an Apple Watch, and that's absolutely honest. So here it is. So I'm done. Apple Watch, you're welcome. Many thanks for the participation to you, all the participants. They can change color with time. That's what the package says. I can